His lawyer leaned close and whispered a few quiet words. Vincent stopped smiling. The color left his face. His hands began to shake. The papers he was excited to sign moved in his grip like they were alive. And for the first time in years I smiled. Not because I felt cruel, but because I finally knew the truth would land where it belonged. But I am rushing ahead. You need the full path. You need to understand how we reached that courtroom. You need to see how a woman everyone called weak and unstable was actually planning with patience for a very long time. My name is Alexis Dunst. I am 34 years old. Until a few months ago I was married to Vincent Mercer. We were together for 15 years. That is a long time to share a home. A long time to share a routine. A long time to believe you are building something solid. And a long time to learn that some people are never building. They are only borrowing. They are only pretending. They are only performing. I met Vincent when I was 17. I finished high school early. Not because I was some rare genius. I was simply practical. I wanted out of my parents' house. I wanted control of my own life. I wanted to work. So I took a job at a law firm called Henderson & Price. The pay was small. The work was dull. I handled files and paperwork and endless stacks of documents. I got paper cuts and sore feet and tired eyes. But the job was mine. It gave me independence. It taught me structure. By the time I was 18 I had moved up to legal assistant. I was good at details. I was good at numbers. I was good at keeping quiet when it mattered. I listened more than I spoke. I noticed things. I remembered things. I learned how people act when they think nobody important is watching. Vincent was older than me. He was charming and ambitious. He spoke about his future like it was already sitting in his pocket. He wanted a real estate empire. He wanted status. He wanted applause. He talked like success was guaranteed. Like the world owed him a prize and he only had to show up to collect it. We met at a client event. He wore confidence like it was a suit. He made everyone laugh. He made promises about big plans. He said he was going to build something incredible. I joked that I could help him with the paperwork. That small joke became the start of everything. We married when I was 19. People said we were young. People said we were romantic. People said Vincent was going places. A year later our son Tyler was born. I was 20 and suddenly I was balancing motherhood with work and marriage and bills. I kept working at the law firm part-time while raising Tyler. I saved money whenever I could. I built my retirement account slowly. I saved spare dollars like they were tiny bricks in a wall I might need one day. My grandmother shaped that habit. She always told me a woman should have her own money. She did not mean money hidden in shame. She meant money that belongs to her. Money earned or received that nobody can grab or control. Something that gives you a choice when life gets hard. She said it with calm certainty like a rule of nature. When I was in my early 20s, Vincent began to see more success. His business started to grow. He was excited. He also wanted control. He asked me to quit the law firm and work for him full-time. He said he needed someone he could trust. Someone to manage the books. Someone to coordinate contractors. Someone to handle clients. Someone to keep the business organized. He spoke like it was a compliment. Like it was proof he valued me. So I left my job and stepped into his world. That is when my real workload began. I became his unpaid everything. I handled bookkeeping. I ran the office. I answered emails. I scheduled meetings. I managed contractors. I prepared documents. I supported marketing. I helped stage model homes. I planned events. I entertained clients. I smoothed problems. I solved emergencies. I did it all while raising Tyler and keeping a household functioning. My official title was wife. My real title was the person holding the whole machine together. For more than a decade I poured myself into Vincent's dream. And for more than a decade Vincent collected the credit. He received praise at industry events. He received recognition. He received the flattering speeches. When people introduced me they called me Vincent's wife. When he spoke at gatherings he thanked his team and his mentors and his own vision. He almost never thanked me. At first I ignored the sting. I told myself it was fine. I told myself my work mattered even if it was invisible. I told myself marriage is teamwork. I told myself love is not about public praise. But over time the mood changed. Vincent started making decisions without telling me. He stayed late more often. He came home distracted. He began to criticize small things. The way I dressed. The meals I cooked. My so-called lack of ambition. That word still makes me laugh in a bitter way. He said I lacked ambition while I was running his back office without pay. While I was raising his son. While I was managing his home. While I was keeping his life from falling apart. But yes, in his mind I was not ambitious enough. Then a few months ago he ended it. It happened on an ordinary weekday evening. I was cooking dinner. I was making one of his favorite meals because I kept trying even when effort was not returned. He sat me down at the kitchen table. He did not look sad. He did not look guilty. He looked businesslike. He said he wanted a divorce. Then he said he wanted the house, the cars, the business, everything. He said I could keep Tyler. He said it like it was a simple trade. Like he was choosing items and assigning leftovers. Like our son was not a human being. Like our marriage was not real history. Like I was a worker being dismissed. I stared at him and felt a strange emptiness. After 15 years he was ending us between the salt shaker and the butter dish. I felt like I had been erased from my own life. What I did not know in that moment was that he had been planning it. He already had a lawyer. A high-priced experienced man named Harold Whitfield. Vincent had been preparing his exit while I was scheduling his appointments and cleaning up his messes. I had been blindsided by a man I trusted. The next day his mother arrived. Lorraine Mercer. A woman who had treated me like staff for years. She wore perfect hair and perfect fake sympathy. She patted my hand and said I should have tried harder to keep her son happy. She spoke about men having needs like she was teaching a slow student. Her advice felt insulting and also ridiculous. Her own marriage was cold and distant. Her husband spent most of his time away from her. Yet she acted like she was the expert on my failure. That first week after the announcement was a blur. Vincent moved me to the guest room. He produced documents. He pushed settlement proposals. He spoke about timelines. Everything moved fast. I felt like I was sinking. To the outside world, I looked like a woman in shock. A wife being thrown away. A victim who did not see it coming. But there was something Vincent did not know. Something nobody knew. 3 years earlier, I had found a secret in his financial records. I found it by accident while doing the work he never valued. And after I found it, I did not explode. I did not confront him. I did not cry in front of him. I prepared. Within a week of the divorce announcement, Vincent took control of the house. The guest room became my permanent space. He reduced my closet. He allowed me to keep only small sections. The message was clear. He wanted me to feel like a visitor in my own home. Within a couple of weeks, he brought another woman around. Her name was Brittany Sawyer. She was younger. She worked at his company. She looked polished and perfect like a social media photo. She walked into my kitchen like she owned it. She wore my apron. An apron that belonged to my grandmother. She made smoothies in my blender. She acted like I was invisible. Vincent showed her off. He sat with her on my couch. He watched my television. He ate from my plates. He put his arm around her in front of me like I was not even a person. He treated me like furniture that came with the house. The humiliation continued. He canceled my personal credit card. He said we needed to separate finances. Then he canceled the joint card. Then he suggested I should leave the house while we sorted things out. As if I was the one causing trouble. As if I was the inconvenience. Lorraine came over to help me pack. Her version of help was control. She looked through my things and decided what I deserved. She allowed old clothes. She allowed some photos. She hesitated over my grandmother's recipe box like she wanted it too. She said I could not take jewelry Vincent bought. I could not take furniture I picked. She called them marital assets and said Vincent was entitled to them. She packed my life into garbage bags. Not boxes. Garbage bags. Like my years were trash being removed. During all this, I believed I had one safe person. My friend Diane Holloway. We had been friends since high school. We had shared decades of life. She was the first person I called after Vincent dropped the divorce demand. She acted supportive. She checked on me. She listened. She brought wine. She let me cry. But slowly I felt something was wrong. Vincent seemed to know my plans before I made them. If I told Diane I wanted to fight for the house, then Tyler would come home saying his dad said it would not work. If I mentioned looking for apartments in a certain area, Vincent would comment on that exact neighborhood. The pattern became obvious. Then I saw the truth. Diane was feeding him information. I also started noticing old signs I had ignored. Diane always seemed too pleased when Vincent entered the room. She laughed too hard at his jokes. She complimented him too much. She asked about him first whenever we talked. She had been carrying feelings for him for years. Vincent knew it. Vincent used it. He made her feel special so she would stay loyal to him. My closest friend was acting as his spy. Years of friendship sold for flattery and false hope. But the worst part of all of it was Tyler. My son saw everything. He saw the girlfriend. He saw his grandmother packing my things like trash. He saw the way his father looked at me. Vincent also worked on him slowly. He told him I was making it difficult. He said he wanted everyone happy. He claimed I was dragging things out. He acted like he was being fair and I was being unreasonable. Tyler began pulling away from me. Not with anger. With confusion and distance. He did not know who to believe. And Vincent was skilled at persuasion. I could lose property. I could lose money. I could lose comfort. But watching my son start to see me as the problem felt like a deeper wound. That was the pain that truly bled. I hired a lawyer named Nina Castellano. She was older and sharp and direct. She reviewed my situation and told me I had rights. She said I helped build the business. She said I should fight for half. The house. The company. The accounts. She expected me to be ready for war. Instead, I asked her a question. What if I do not want to fight? Nina looked at me like I had lost my mind. She thought I was broken. She thought I had no strength left. She did not know what I knew. Vincent pushed me into a small apartment with Tyler. It had 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A tiny kitchen. Boxes did not fit. They stacked in the corner like proof of how far we fell. Meanwhile, Vincent posted happy photos with Brittany. He acted like he was starting a bright new life. Lorraine cheered him on. Friends gave me advice. Family told me to find a stronger lawyer. Everyone assumed I was defeated. They were wrong. There is power in being underestimated. When people think you are weak, they stop watching. They stop guarding their secrets. They get careless. And that is when you learn what you need to know. 3 years before the divorce, I was working on company books one night. Vincent was out late again. I was reconciling accounts and checking transfers. I noticed something strange. Money moving to an account I did not recognize. Then another transfer. Then a pattern. I followed the trail. I stayed up very late. I checked statements. I pulled documents. I compared numbers. What I found made my blood run cold. Vincent had been borrowing against everything. The house had multiple mortgages. The debt on it was far bigger than the value. The business had lines of credit pushed to the limit. There were unpaid taxes, vendor debts, equipment loans. The company that looked successful was drowning. Even the cars were not really ours. They were leased with big payments coming due. We did not own the lifestyle. We were renting the image month by month. I calculated it all. The total debt was enormous. The real value of assets was lower. Our life was a hole covered with shiny paint. From far away we looked rich. Up close it was hollow. Then I asked the hardest question. Where did the money go? I dug deeper. I traced transactions. I followed spending trails. Over time a clear picture appeared. There were risky investments that went bad. There was gambling money disappearing. There was an apartment I did not know about. Money spent on a woman I did not know about. There were luxury expenses that never touched our home. Watches, suits, trips, things I never shared. Vincent was not building an empire. He was building a house of cards while setting it on fire. My first instinct was to confront him. To demand the truth. To rage. To cry. But I knew Vincent. If I confronted him, he would twist the story. He would call me paranoid. He would turn my fear into my fault. He would try to control me even more. And there was another danger. If he knew I had discovered his financial disaster, he might try to access the one thing I had protected. My own separate money. Because I had listened to my grandmother. I had kept some money separate. I had a retirement account from my earlier law firm work. I had rolled it over but never mixed it with his accounts. It grew over time. And my grandmother left me an inheritance when she passed away. Her will was clear. The money was for me alone. I kept it in a separate account. I did not use it for household bills. I did not mix it with Vincent money. I treated it like sacred protection. I had a large amount that was legally separate. So I did not confront Vincent. I protected Tyler and myself. I worked with my uncle who understood accounting. We created a trust for Tyler. I moved my separate funds into that trust. The trust was designed so Vincent could not touch it. My name was not set up to benefit from it either. It was strictly for Tyler. For his education. For a first home. For emergencies. For a future. Then I documented everything. Every mortgage paper. Every hidden account. Every suspicious transaction. I printed copies. I stored copies with my sister. I placed copies in a safe deposit box. I saved encrypted digital files. I built evidence like a wall. Then I waited. I knew Vincent would leave eventually. Men like him always chase a new thrill. They get bored. They chase someone younger. They want a new audience. They want praise without responsibility. I just had to be ready when he made his move. For 3 years I watched him dig deeper. I smiled at parties while knowing we were built on quicksand. I played the role of supportive wife while quietly preparing my exit. So when Vincent demanded divorce and demanded the house and the business and the cars, I almost laughed. He thought he was taking treasures. He was actually demanding the debt. He was demanding the burden. He simply did not understand what he was grabbing. I brought Nina 3 binders. Years of evidence. She read in silence for a long time. When she looked up, she was stunned. She asked if I had known for 3 years. I told her yes. I was waiting for him to leave. Nina finally understood the plan. If Vincent took all the assets, then he would also take all the liabilities attached to them. The mortgages. The business debt. The lease obligations. All of it would become his responsibility alone. And my separate money would remain protected and untouched in the trust for Tyler. Nina went quiet and then smiled in a way that made me feel safe. She apologized for thinking I had given up. I told her everyone thinks that. That was the point. From that moment we moved with precision. We prepared documents that made the transfer of assets also a transfer of debt. The divorce agreement would state clearly that I gave up any claim to the house, the business, the vehicles. In exchange, I would accept a small cash settlement and move on. But attached to it was an addendum. A liability disclosure. It listed every debt tied to those assets. It made clear that whoever took the assets also assumed the liabilities. The plan was not illegal. It was not fraud. It was simply truth on paper. Then I acted. For months I played the role everyone expected. I appeared broken and tired. I showed up to mediation with red eyes. I spoke softly. I asked for very little. I said I only wanted enough to start over. I said I did not want to be difficult. I said the business was his life. I said the house mattered to him. I said I wanted peace for Tyler. I asked for a modest cash settlement. I asked for my personal belongings. I asked for shared custody. That was all. Vincent agreed quickly. He expected a fight. Instead, I offered him what looked like victory. He looked at me with pity like I was a wounded animal. He believed he was merciful. As my performance continued, Vincent grew more arrogant. He bragged to people that I gave up. Lorraine bragged that I got nothing. Vincent even bought himself an expensive watch and showed it off. He took Brittany to a fancy dinner place that had once been special to me. He posted cheerful messages about being with the right person. Brittany also redecorated my old home. She replaced furniture. She changed art. She even painted the kitchen a flat cold color. A color that erased the care I put into that room. It felt insulting, but it also felt fitting. She was repainting a life that was already collapsing. Diane kept calling. She fished for information. I played along. I told her I was tired. I said I did not have energy to fight. Within hours, Vincent would behave as if he had heard it already. I could almost see him relaxing further. Diane thought she was clever. She was simply doing free work for a man who would never truly value her. While the adults played games, Tyler watched and learned. He noticed his father's fancy purchases. He noticed the excuses about money. He noticed the mismatch between the image and the reality. One night at my small table, he asked me a serious question. He asked if his father was actually rich. I did not give him a long speech. I asked him what he thought. Tyler said something felt wrong. He said his dad seemed like he was pretending. I held his hand and told him to wait a little longer. Behind the scenes, Nina prepared the final strike. The document package was ready. The liability addendum was clear. The numbers were verified. The disclosures were complete. Near the end, Vincent's lawyer Harold grew uneasy. He requested a financial audit before signing. He wanted to verify values. Nina agreed to provide documents. But Vincent refused the audit. He said he built the company and he knew what it was worth. He refused delays. He wanted the divorce finished quickly because Brittany wanted it finished quickly. Harold warned him. Vincent ignored him. Harold then prepared a waiver stating he recommended independent review, and Vincent refused against counsel advice. Vincent signed the waiver without reading it. That was the moment the trap locked fully into place. The night before court, Vincent even sent me a message thanking me for not making it ugly. I stared at it and felt the insult under the polite words. He was thanking me for being easy to discard. I replied that I only wanted what was best for Tyler. And I meant it. Tyler was protected. Tyler had a future. That was my win. The morning of court arrived. Vincent walked in confident. He wore his best suit. His watch flashed under the lights. Brittany waited outside. Lorraine sat in the gallery, dressed like she was attending a celebration. She smiled at me like I was already defeated. I arrived dressed simply. No jewelry. Hair pulled back. I looked tired and small and done. Perfect. The judge reviewed the file. She asked if we had an agreement. Both lawyers confirmed. She asked me directly if I understood. She warned me I was giving up substantial property. She asked if I was pressured. I said no. I said I understood. I said I wanted my husband to have everything he asked for. I said I wanted it to be over. The judge hesitated for a moment like she wanted to protect me from a bad choice, but I was represented and clear. So she proceeded. The clerk handed out documents. Vincent signed fast. He barely looked at the pages. I signed slowly and carefully. I savored every line because I knew what it meant. Harold reviewed the package one last time like a responsible lawyer. Then he reached the liability disclosure. I watched his face change as he read. Confusion first. Then alarm. Then pale shock. He leaned toward Vincent and whispered urgently that they needed to talk. Vincent tried to wave him off. Harold insisted. Harold told him he was assuming all debt. Harold pointed at the numbers and the words that made it clear. Vincent finally looked. He scanned the figures. His face went white. His hands began to tremble. His victory smile vanished. In that moment he understood. The house was not a prize. It was a burden. The business was not a trophy. It was a debt machine. The vehicles were not assets. They were obligations. Vincent stood up and said it was wrong. He accused me of hiding things. He cried fraud. The judge ordered him to sit. She looked at him and asked if he truly did not know his own financial situation. Harold then told the judge he advised an audit, and Vincent refused. He produced the signed waiver. The judge reviewed it. She asked Vincent if it was his signature. He had to admit it was. The judge stated the facts plainly. He had counsel. He had the chance to investigate. He declined. He signed in court. The agreement would stand. Vincent begged to withdraw. He claimed he did not understand. The judge refused. She said he signed documents stating he understood. She said these were his debts attached to assets in his name. She said there was no hidden trick. Only disclosure. Then she finalized the divorce. She confirmed my settlement. She confirmed he received the assets and all associated liabilities. The marriage was dissolved. I stood and gathered my things. I looked at Vincent one last time. He sat slumped with papers spread out like a broken map of his own choices. I reminded him quietly that he wanted everything except Tyler. I gave him exactly what he asked for. I walked out. In the hallway I heard him yelling. I heard him blame his lawyer. I heard Harold remain calm and repeat that he warned him and had it in writing. I saw Brittany learn the truth in real time. Her face changed when she understood that the empire was dead. She left quickly. She did not wait to comfort him. She did not wait to fight for him. She disappeared faster than she arrived. Outside the sky was bright. The air felt warm. Behind me my ex-husband was collapsing under consequences. Ahead of me was a life that was smaller but honest. A life that was mine. After that the collapse moved fast. Brittany moved out. Vincent tried to sell the house but could not. Banks called. Payments failed. The business began defaulting. Vendors filed claims. Credit froze. The shiny image turned to dust. Vincent went to bankruptcy meetings. Lorraine scrambled and asked family for help. They tried to blame me. They claimed I hid things. But the documents were clear. The loans were in his name. The mortgages were in his name. The choices were his. Diane called and apologized. She said she did not know it was that bad. I did not give her comfort. Some betrayals do not deserve closure. Lorraine tried to reach me through Tyler. She wanted forgiveness. Tyler saw her for what she was. He told her I was busy building my life and I had no time for excuses. Tyler understood the truth fully when he watched the facade fall. He saw Brittany leave. He saw his father panic. He saw his grandmother backpedal. One evening he asked me if I waited for years. I told him I waited to protect him. I told him the trust was built for his future. He hugged me. A real hug. The kind that says I understand. The kind that says I am with you. That hug mattered more than any house. My settlement money helped us stabilize. It paid for basics and safety. The trust stayed untouched and secure. Then I finally returned to myself. I enrolled in interior design courses. A dream I had placed on a shelf when I became Vincent's unpaid system. I began building my own work. Small projects at first. A woman starting over. A new apartment. A new kitchen painted a hopeful color. One room at a time. Months later Vincent showed up at my door. He looked worn down. His confidence was gone. His expensive watch was gone. He tried to speak like he wanted sympathy. He said he did not mean for it to happen. He asked if we could talk. He could not even say the real word he wanted. Help. I reminded him calmly that he asked for everything except Tyler. He got exactly what he wanted. I told him goodbye and closed the door. That night I looked at my grandmother's photo and her recipe box on the shelf. I thanked her quietly for the lessons. Keep your own money. Know your worth. Do not let anyone make you feel small. My apartment was quiet. It was not glamorous. But it was mine. Every choice in it was mine. And for the first time in a long time I felt free.